All right, welcome back to Lesson 13, the USSR. We'll have to break this up into 2 or maybe even 3 parts. Lesson 13, USSR, begins with why Russia rejects liberalism. You're not going to see multiple choice questions on that. You're unlikely to see A1 questions on that. You might bring it into an essay, but you have now a 45% chance of ever writing a political essay again. So not something you need to study this week for our multiple choice is why did Russia reject liberalism? Not our focus here. Now when we get to Lenin, part of our focus economically was Lenin's new economic policy and the war communism that he tried before that. But politically, we didn't really look at Lenin as a political leader. So we shouldn't expect to see a lot of Lenin on the test this week either, right? Maybe we'd have some questions about Stalin that connect back to Lenin, but the focus won't be on Lenin. So that makes this lesson a whole lot easier. I am saying you still need to study these for the multiple choice exam, but these terms are more, the multiple choice diploma exam, but those terms are more economic than political, and the focus on this test this week is going to be political. So you're not likely to see those on my test. But we will see Stalin. We will see Stalin, and more specifically, more than his 5-year plans, unless it connects to his politics, we're going to see his techniques of dictatorship. So we should expect to see Stalin's 5-year plans as it attaches to his techniques of dictatorship. So the test wouldn't be about his 5-year plans and what kind of economic goals they were, because this isn't the economic test, but it might be the use of political scapegoating. Or it might be the force and terror, the show trials that he ended up using during his 5-year plans to consolidate power. You might see some of the cult of personality surrounding Stalin, the rewriting of history. That would be an easy question. I could pull this off and say, which technique of dictatorship is being illustrated in this visual, and the answer might be cult of personality. Depending upon how the visual is being used, you could see some nuances of propaganda or indoctrination. So I'd have to be careful with which other distractors I would use. Definitely the concept of a purge is a political concept. So much like Hitler has his night-along knives, Stalin has his purge, and you might see a reference to his purge and show trials on Friday's exam. Connected to the show trials is this idea of propaganda and indoctrination to begin to control the hearts and minds of the people. Shouldn't expect to see Marxism. That's more of an economic term. You'll see that more economically on the diploma exam again. But most of this is economics. There's a little bit of politics in terms of the dictatorship of the proletariat, this political system. But the majority of Karl Marx's ideology is of an economic nature. The differences between communism and fascism definitely should be on the exam. And the main difference between communism and fascism is, what is the vision that we're trying to create? What is the ideal state? And communism is trying to eliminate differences by creating egalitarianism, everyone's equal. Fascism is trying to exaggerate differences, to celebrate those that are better or more capable than others. So those are the differences. Lots of similarities. When we look at the techniques of dictatorship, we see that Stalin and Hitler end up, maintaining power in very similar techniques. looking at this, and the majority of the Stalin stuff was actually tested on the economic unit. I know I said I would split this lesson into more than one part, but I might as well keep going. Politically, we can see the de-Stalinization under Khrushchev, but that also fits into the Cold War unit we haven't studied yet. So it might be a little unfair of me to test you on parts of this lesson that we're going to still visit again in the week to come. So even though it is in lesson 13, the stuff about Khrushchev and about Brezhnev and about the fall of the Soviet Union under Gorbachev with Perestroika and Glasnost, because that's going to be a part of the Cold War unit, I need something to be on that multiple choice on June the 8th. So chances are, if I only have 32 questions that I can give you this week, I'm probably not going to ask you many about them. So in the end, from this lesson, what do you really need to know? Stalin's techniques of dictatorship. That there will be questions on the techniques of dictatorship, on basically what they are, and how Stalin used them as opposed to how Hitler used them. And that's it.